Now let's continue working on the engine by adding some cone shapes to it. Now you'll notice that I've gone ahead and grouped some of these other things together. So I've grouped all of the curves together in a single group and I've hid them. And you can do that just by taking the group and hitting Control H to hide that group. I've grouped the wing, the rest of the ship, and then the engine that we're working on right now is a group. So I can take the wing and ship and hide them temporarily just so that we can just look at the engine by itself. All right, so I want to add a cone coming out the back and then also a little cone here in the front. And so we can go in and create NURBS primitive, and there's actually a cone primitive that we can use. So if I go ahead and bring this up a little bit, I want to rotate it 90 degrees in the X, in this case minus 90 degrees, and go ahead and pull this out. And then we can go into our option here and we can change the radius if we want to, and then we can also change the height ratio to make it a little bit longer. And so I just want it to kind of stick into this back part here. Okay, and we can add divisions if we need to add some divisions to it. We can add spans that you can see add along this direction, and then also the sections will go around the surface. Okay, and then if we wanted to change the sweep, kind of open that up a little bit, if we wanted something like that, we could do that. So we have the start and end sweep, the start and end angles for that sweep there. All right. Now we can also create sort of a cone shape up here, but let's do this in a little bit different way. So let's create a NURBS primitive, and in this case, let's create a sphere. We'll go ahead and bring the sphere up to the front, and I want to turn it so the pole of the sphere is facing forward. So let's rotate it 90 degrees in the X. Let's go into our creation node and let's increase the radius. Okay, to about 3.6. Now I want to turn this into sort of a soft cone, and I don't need the geometry at the back. So what we can do is actually take the isoparm in the center here, go to Edit NURBS, and let's detach surfaces. Now we can select this back portion and delete it, and now we have this sort of hemisphere. We can take the hull at the end, move it in towards the surface here, so something like this, and then we can start to take these points at the front and move them forward a bit. Okay. Now I'll take the hole at the back and let's actually scale it up a little, and let's take this one and scale it up a little as well. We'll take these points again at the front and kind of scale them down, and let's add a few isoparms in here. So I'm going to add one kind of right in there and right in here. We'll go ahead and insert those isoparms, and then I want to take these holes and just kind of pull these down a little bit. So maybe something like that. I actually want to add another isoparm in here. And let's go ahead and pull this isoparm forward. I want to create a little bit of a piece of kind of a divot there. Okay, so that's kind of more of a soft looking cone. Okay, and if you want to add more divisions in here, we can make this even sharper, coming in here and adding an isoparm and then grabbing this hole that's sort of in the middle and scaling it in. We can create more of a kind of an overlap there. On the back, we want to have a little bit of thickness here as well, so I'll add a few isoparms in here and then take that very last hole and scale that in a bit, and then we can even take this one and scale it in a bit as well, and take this one and kind of move it forward to give us a little bit more softness, just so it's sticking off the surface a little bit. Okay, so we've created sort of a cone shape here, but we've used a circle, and then you can also use the cone primitive to create a nice sharp cone for the back. So once we have that geometry, really the only thing left for our engine is to create these sort of thrust ring that can move in and out, these sort of slats on the back here. And for this, we'll use a very similar technique that we used on the fan blades, but we'll use instancing so that we can actually rotate these and it makes sense. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.